final story on the auspicious day of Doshami, Jantro Danob presents to you a tale of love and loss, where sometimes to love someone means letting them go. For today's play, the characters of Anamika and Rohit are played by Pritha Mukhopadhyay and Swagato Dasgupta, with Aradhita Banerjee as the narrator and sound design by Hansel Reay. The songs Bela Bose by Anjan, Starry Starry Night by Don Mclean, and City of Stars from the La La Land soundtrack have been utilized. Without further ado, under the swirls of the starry night and the cacophony of the final dark, we present to you Coda, written by Chitranjana Bandyopadhyay.
Sounds of revelry and celebration waft in, albeit slightly muffled, from the closed windows of Anand apartments of Diamond Harbour Road, 234 by A. There's a bittersweet attachment to the entire day. Longing and loss walk past that tiny shack which sells cigarettes and cheap pan, past the tenant of the old barber who refuses to buy new scissors, past the government complexes and the roadside snack joint, and straight into Anamika and Rohit's flat.
Silence? Why is there so much of silence? Why won't she say anything? How can she just sit there looking so composed and calm? But then again, she was always this settled. Even on our wedding day, all silent strength while I was a nervous wreck. It's been so long since then. So many years have passed since then. I should have shaved today. I must look like a mess. This reminds me of our first date. I was just as nervous then. Who would have thought?
Both sitting face to face across an old window coffee table. Anamika glances over to see his face.
I shouldn't be surprised with the silence. God knows I had enough practice to not let it affect my nerves anymore. I wonder if it affects him, but I'd be disappointed. He's biting his nails again. He knows it's bad for him. I doubt he'd ever stop. Why do we continue to do what's wrong for us? If I knew we would end up with an unhappy marriage and melancholy sitting on that wedding dais, would I still marry him? Most probably, I was too content in my rose-tinted glasses to give it a second thought. I was too excited to be his wife, to have a completion to my picture-perfect young romance. 6 years of marriage, and here we are. Who would have thought?
Rohit has forgotten to shave, it seems. Bristles of unkempt hairs stick out at odd angles and give a more rugged look to his otherwise gentle face. He looks older than his years. Much, much older. In front of her is no longer that gangly 22-year-old boy who tried to woo her in the college canteen with half-wilted roses and a song. It would have almost been sweet if she wasn't allergic to roses. Now, his place has been taken by a man who has experienced the bitter truths of life. Rohit looks at her. He's the first one to break the silence.
You look gorgeous.
You look like shit.
Never one to mince your words, were you?
Anamika doesn't miss the slight passive aggression that lilts at the back of his words.
What did you want to talk about, Anu?
You know.
I never thought you'd be so into symbolism and shit. The end of the celebration and the end of us? How poetic of you, Anamika. How fucking poetic.
I haven't come here to argue, Rohit. I stopped trying to get my point across an eon ago. We can speak this out like adults, can't we? We both know where we are at. Why drag this out?
Rohit stares at his wife. She looks like the same woman he tried to impress in that shabby canteen with the absolutely fresh roses and a rendition of Bella Bose.
Man, she looked pretty that day. Laughter and sparkles and all that jazz. But what was I thinking? How did I let Arnab talk me into that? If I was Anu, I would have slapped me and walked away. A random goofy dude just making a fool of himself. It wasn't a total mess though. Despite the college calling me Sasta ka Shah Rukh Khan for a whole year, I had managed to make her blush. Though in hindsight, that may have been the shortness of breath from the roses. It had been an entirety of 3 minutes where she blushed and almost smiled before she had to be taken to the nurse's room. Damn, allergies always messed up my productions.
Louds can be heard from the canteen. There is laughter and jabs and petty arguments all wrapped up within the college canteen. Rohit's friends are cheering him on at the entryway. Besides the seats, the canteen in charge is turning on the fans. The sounds of conversation get louder. Anamika sits at a small table with her friends. They are laughing unabashedly and she high-fives someone. Rohit looks at her and walks towards her with unsteady steps. The roses rustle against his clumsy palms. Rohit manages to not fall on the way to Anamika's table. The chattering of the students gets quieter as he stands in front of her and her friends. Someone whistles at the background and a splattering of laughter can be heard. Someone at the entrance turns on a boombox and the instrumentals to Bella Bose is blasted across the entire canteen. Rohit starts singing. His voice lacks clarity and he is extremely off tune.
I've tried, Rohit, and I know you've tried too. But if it's not enough, then it just isn't. I don't want to be the bad guy here. Please.
Rohit sighs heavily and looks at her. She's currently wearing a traditional Bengali sari with red deep borders and a thin gold bangle.
I remember when you got that made.
You do?
Yeah, it was half an year into our marriage. You had gotten it made for that year's puja. I remember because we had gone out to see the pandals on Avishek's bike.
I just remember you trying to win a fuch kiting competition and spending the night groaning in pain. Well, that. And the lights. I always remember the lights. We were driving into a narrow lane with hardly any noises. They used old-fashioned small light bulbs to decorate the roads. I had never felt that excited.
Sounds of bike can be heard. The bike rides over a few potholes along a narrow lane. Somewhere far, the faint sounds of paper horns and harp can be heard. Anamika hums to herself driving the bike. Rohit sits pillion and calmly snaps his finger to the beat of the humming. Entering a lane, Anamika gasps at the lights. The sounds of revelry are still further away.
Should be just ahead, Anu.
Remind me to thank Abhishek with that garlic achar he likes.
Oh, so garlic achar for Abhishek and nothing for your amazing husband who managed to find this shortcut? I see how it is, Anu. I see.
I married a moron.
Yes, you did.
Look at the lights, babe. Look at them.
I didn't know anyone used light bulbs for decorations anymore. They're so old school.
I am glad, Rohit. I am so glad.
Can't believe you're so excited about light bulbs, I know.
It's a feeling in my heart. These lights, Rohit. I'll never forget these lights.
At least now I know how to placate you after a fight. I'll just grab the nearest light bulb.
How does a person change so much? Or maybe I have changed. Or maybe we both have. But when? Exactly when did that comfortable silence become so painful? He used to listen. He used to understand me. Now, neither can understand each other. I miss that bike. That bike was more ours than it was ever Abhishek's. He would lean on my back as I would drive us around the whole of Park Street Crossing, the place where it all started. We would park wherever we could and just see the city around us. Time didn't stop, no. Time went on as it did, but we stopped. We took out time and we made time for each other. Time that would belong solely to us and no one else. Now, I sit with my time and feel suffocated in it alone. As I know, so does he. Why won't he listen? When did you stop listening, Rohit?
That was a good year.
They all were.
Rohit laughs sardonically. He rolls his eyes and looks at her.
Yeah, they were so good that now you want a divorce. Because that's what normal people want after a marriage of good years.
Anamika closes her eyes. She crosses her hands and leans back against the frame of the chair. The chair creaks under the newfound pressure. The sound is jarring against the backdrop of total silence.
Why are you doing this, Anamika? Why do you want to end things when they've just started?
Can you honestly, and I mean honestly, tell me that you're happy, Rohit? Do you feel at home?
You're throwing around arbitrary questions to try and take your way.
This is exactly what I mean. They are not arbitrary, Rohit. None of them ever were. Can't you see that we're trying to grasp at needles in the dark?
Why is she being so stubborn? It's not the end of the world. She wasn't like this. She wasn't so obstinate. But then again, it's been so long since I can actually remember what she was like. We can compromise. But no, she has to go on and on about how our marriage is falling apart. 8 months of the same fucking thing. I was a fool to think that her going to her parents' house would help. How long was she gone for? Oh yes, 20 days. Come to think of it, it went by pretty quickly. It was coming, in a sense. Not a single phone call needed, not a single conversation. Did I miss something? It feels like I did. But never mind. We can talk it out now. It needs a little time. Anamika, it just needs time.
Rohit stands tall and gathers the courage to talk about his feelings.
Anamika, I need to tell you something.
His song still resonates across the canteen, getting mixed with wolf whistles and cheers from students.
Yes,
Rohit clears his throat and, locking his eyes on hers, he speaks to the anticipation of the entire canteen.
I love you. Do you not love me anymore? Is that what this is?
It's not about love.
Then what is it about, huh? What could any of this possibly be about? Yes, we're struggling, but struggles take effort to overcome.
Rohit goes lax. He sighs shakily.
You're quitting.
Anamika stares at him. Tears pull his eyes and he avoids her stare to keep himself composed. The fan above them makes white noise for the storm that is raging beneath. Rohit shakes his head and looks up at his wife.
Anu, we can do this. It's not too late.
It's way past too late.
We can try.
We've been trying for 6 years.
And we can try for 6 more.
Why is he being so stubborn? How can I make him see that this isn't good for us? Second year students Rohit and Anamika are no longer here. They haven't been for 6 years. They are gone. And they won't come back. But us, right here, right now, we're not right for each other. But I know that it's easier for him to hate me, to make me that villainous wretched bitch. That way it'll move on quicker. And that would have been fine with me if I couldn't tolerate the thought of him hating me. How did I end up here? How did I end up with loving a man whom I'm not meant to love? He's lying to himself. I know he is. He knows as well as I do that the same comfort isn't there. The patient affection isn't there. For 6 years, small petty squabbles raged onto hurtful, toxic words and anger. Anger that aims to scar and not to make the other understand. We avoid talking, we avoid conversations. 20 days that I wasn't here, I felt relieved. And when I saw that there wasn't even a text on my birthday, I knew that so did he.
Where there's love, there must be a way.
Love is not the only factor here.
We can do it, Anamika. We can do it.
Rohit, I don't.
You just don't care.
I am doing this because I care. I care so much that it's killing me.
Anamika sobs.
We've tried, Rohit. We've tried so much. I can't continue to placate myself by trying to pretend that everything is all right. And I know that nor can you. I know you, Rohit. I know you inside out. And it tears me apart to know that you are stuck somewhere where you don't get that peace that you used to. It tears me apart to know that we're not enough for each other. There have been nights that I've cried myself to sleep because I've felt you slip away each day further to a place where I can't follow you. I don't have that resource. But this doesn't mean that I don't love you. If I didn't love you, it wouldn't have been this difficult. If I didn't care, I wouldn't have tried. But I did. And so did you. And here we are. We deserve better. We deserve to be happy without having to wring out our own selves to try and be happy. I don't want us to end up hating each other.
Further silence follows. Rohit, after what seems like ages, breaks the silence.
Oh, Anu, the procession is crossing. We have never missed one yet. One more for the road.
One more for the road.
Both of them make their way out that flat. The now empty pandal greets them at front. In a few minutes, the procession will follow and lead its way to the river. Both of them stand near the gate. The sound becomes louder.
I'm sorry I wasn't enough, Anu. I'm so very sorry.
So am I.
Rohit chuckles a watery soft laugh.
We've had a good run, no?
In the background, softly his rendition of Bella Bose can be heard, along with cheers from the college canteen.
We did. Allergy shocks and all.
The crowd crosses its way in front of them. Anamika makes her way into it, but before she can completely merge into it, Rohit calls out.
I hope you remember our story, Anu.
Anamika smiles.
Of course I will. And the lights, Rohit. I'll always remember the lights.
Thank you for loving me, Anamika.
But she does not hear, for before his words can cut through to her, Anamika becomes one in the frenzy of white and red, where vermilion paints the world a deep shade of scarlet. The darks are almost deafening, and the goddess bids farewell along with their story. Once the flurry dies down, and the roads are empty, save a few dogs and the occasional litter, Rohit makes his way to the vacant pandal. He sits near it and wonders.
Home. What a funny word.
Rohit chuckles to himself. What a funny word indeed. In front of him, a solitary diya remains lit. He stares at the flame and gets up, carrying half a decade of memories and a finished story. Rohit makes his way to his flat. Outside, as the sky changes color and the birds make their way back to their known earth, and the river welcomes the Mother Earth once again, and out walk acceptance and reminiscence. The flame flickers ever so lightly.
We at Jantro Danob hope you enjoyed our little endeavor to make the pujas a little more exciting during these uncertain times. With this, our series of exclusive audio plays come to an end along with the revelry. But as they say, the show must go on. And if there's one thing that Durga Puja has taught us, it is that আসছে বছর আবার হবে.